22 seconds later. Howdy, folks. I'm Happy McAirplane. I'm here to fly my airplane in circles over your town all day, repeatedly, at low elevation and overlapping circles with my high powered 5G altimeter. Hey, isn't that wonderful? Yeah, in 2010, they switched over to 5G altimeters where they beam the ground with 5G. Now, you might think, oh, well, gee, what's the big deal? They're putting 5G cell towers everywhere for phones and all that good stuff. Booga, booga, booga. Well, hey, let's do a little deductive reasoning or logical assumptions that can be made here about that. All right? 5G is said to be high frequency and therefore, 60 gigahertz or higher even. I mean, here's the airplanes aren't fucking all fucking time. Okay, so 5G, high frequency. It can transmit a lot of data, but it doesn't travel as far as easily. So the need to put all the extra panels in hidden places, and they're hiding them. They're literally hiding them in things. So it needs more antennas to send and receive, and they're going to place them. I heard 180 feet is what they want to place them in the city. Every 180 feet down every road in the city, in every city, will be one of these 5G panels. But I digress. Okay, the signal doesn't travel very far very easily, so they need to put all these panels close together in town for the strength of the signal that they're using in town for data, for phones, and all that kind of stuff. Probably everything. Probably your cable TV goes through it too. Uh, but anyway, when they use 5G for an altimeter on an airplane, that's a different kind of scenario. I'm just thinking logically here. I'm not an expert on 5G systems or altimeters for that matter. Probably I'm not an expert on anything except seeing bullshit when I see it and hear it. It flies in slowly over my house repeatedly all day. So, 5G. G. An airplane can fly anywhere from 8, 900, 1,200 feet over your house in overlapping circles all day. Or an airplane might be flying at 30, 40,000 feet, which is several miles. Now, if their 5G altimeter can operate to tell them their altitude when they're at 5 miles height, then that tells me a 5G signal can be sent out strong enough to make it to the ground 5 miles away. I think this is logic. This will help you, says Bill Hicks. Rest in peace. So that tells me that if they're really using 5G for their altimeters, which I have no reason to doubt because that's what's said, that it's really, really, really high powered 5G. I'm talking like way more powerful than what's being used for the cell grid, with all the panels having to be close together because it doesn't travel very far. They're trying to say it barely travels 180 feet, but that's for keeping full strength, I'm sure. Uh, the fact that they can send a 5G signal from 6, 7 miles up in the sky and detect the ground with it tells me that they're either lying about how far a 5G signal will go, or they're using such high power levels for these altimeters that their signal can make it to the ground even through a rainstorm, snow, okay, hail, heavy moist atmosphere. This 5G can penetrate through all of that, hit the ground, bounce back, and tell them their altitude at 5 miles distance. But we need repeater panels every 180 feet in town. My hypothesis on this whole thing is this: 2010 is when my ears started to ring all the time, and I started to notice airplane after airplane after airplane after airplane. I mean, chemtrails were already going on for a few years, but maybe it was 2011 is when I really started to notice it. Airplanes just day and night, everywhere. Jetliners, nowhere near the airport. Rural, residential areas, rural areas. Everywhere was the flight path all of a sudden. And that's when I started to get the migraines, and I had swollen temples, and all kinds of issues started to develop and became real noticeable right around then. That's when they went to 5G altimeters. If a 5G altimeter is capable of penetrating all the clouds, all the rain, all the moisture to the ground and getting their altitude from as much as 5 or 6 miles away, then it's an incredibly high powered 5G signal. And that would make sense as to why, when they started flying airplanes continuously over, and I started to have all kinds of Morgellons issues, and everybody, oh, you're crazy. What's your problem with these airplanes? There's an airport right over there. Fuck you. Fucking assholes. People fucking say that too. It's all I can do not to just fucking scream at them. Yeah, okay, you have a migraine headache for a year and a ringing in your ears that never stops, and it, for some reason, intensifies tenfold every time an airplane goes by. And it was any airplane. It still is any airplane. Any airplane whatsoever. Not just chemtrail planes, not just odd looking black helicopters and that. No, any flying fucking craft that goes over causes this problem. And I'm a lot healthier now, so it's not as bad. I can still kind of function. But I was completely non functional 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It's only through, learning about a lot of what's called new age, which is really old age, without learning that you know esoteric things, that I was able to earth ground and take mud baths and use copper, go to the rivers and start turning it around to get my health back. Um, oh, I left my wallet at the airport. I guess I better turn around. You're never without an airplane flying over around this place. It's not quite as bad in other parts of town. This is one of the worst places, though. I can, for no reason, see why. Little airplanes just fly in circles over this area continuously, and every jetliner going to PDX needs to go 7-8 miles out of its way this way in order to come in for its approach from altitude. And why is there 600, 700 airplanes an hour going to PDX? Give me a fucking break. It's not that busy of a fucking airport. During the day at certain peak times, yeah, it's busy. All night, no, it's not. Anyway, so yeah, 5G. The 5G fucks people up. The high powered 5G is gonna fuck people up even more. And it's being used on altimeters that beam the ground. And if you pulled your head out of your butt and looked up at the sky once in a while and took a listen, wow, why are there airplane after airplane after airplane after airplane after airplane after airplane flying over my house? I live 14 miles from the airport and the runway's in an opposite direction. Yet, airplane after airplane after airplane. And I know it's happening all over the country. There's not a place I've been in the last 6, 7 years, and I've been all over, small town or big town. There's no place I've went that doesn't have airplanes all day and all night flying over them. Before the CV-19 thing, it was all day and all night. When that grounded the planes for a while, because they had to stop them in order, oh yeah, it's a shutdown. We can't be flying a zillion airplanes, when people are supposed to be locked down. They'll notice that. So they stopped the planes for a while, and it was great. Like 3 months was almost no planes. And then they started to slowly pick up again. And then when restrictions got lifted, oh, I'm Joe Private Pilot in my Cessna. I think I'm going to go fly around and be safe from COVID when I'm public, or when I'm distancing up in my airplane. And it started again, the air show. But only during the day. Prior to COVID, it was all day and all night. Like Happy McAirplane wants to get in his private Cessna and fly slowly in overlapping circles at 800 feet over residential areas all day and all night, every day and every night, forever and ever. Hooray! I got an unlimited gas card, nothing to do, right? That's really what's going on. Give me a fucking break. And that's still happening. And they don't need to hire anybody to go do anything nefarious when they install it into the altimeters, and then they require the altimeters to be used on all the aircraft. Get your 5G altimeters, beam the ground hard with our super high powered 5G signal. I'm sure it's really good for people, especially children and elderly and those with cancer and, all kinds of health problems. Yeah, it's great to have a high powered 5G signal from an airplane beaming you through your roof and sweeping across you every 37 seconds or every minute and a half or every 2 minutes, even all day, all night. And these are just the planes you can spot and hear. If you really look, when it's semi clear, you can see the other levels. There's planes that grid. They fly east, west, and north, south, and it's not a plane or a couple planes doing something, for the government. No, it's a steady caravan sometimes. You get just like, I've sat up there for an hour before and got like 18 in a row. So I don't know. I'm not going to try and divide 18 into 60 right now. Every 4 minutes. And that was at high ones. You couldn't hear them. You barely see them. They were just lights. But they got 5G altimeters too. Beam in the ground with everyone that goes over. That's all I got to say. 5G high-powered altimeters. Yay for America.